Let me ask you something. Every time you get ready to do something, why do you do it? Every single time you make a decision, every time you say something, every time you do an action, every time you have an interaction, why do you do it? Is it because you want to? Is it because you feel obligated to? Is it because you feel guilted to? Why? All right. I'm going to talk about me for a second. So, every time, let's use this video for example. Every time I decide to make a video for my channel, it's because I'm inspired to do so. I'm feeling sad and I want to pick myself up. I come up with an idea. I don't have anything else to do. Or it'd be like fun. And if there's ever a time that I'm like, I really don't want to do this, I don't make one. And I just wanted to come on here and say, when you do things because you truly want to do them, then you know what master you're serving. You're serving the master within. And if we take a look at our lives, if we take a look at our lifestyle, if we take a look at what we feel obligated to, we can see who we serve, what masters we serve outside of ourselves. If we serve masters outside of ourselves, or if we serve the master within. Now, self-love is honoring the self and honoring how you feel. I was on a journey before this where I was taught, conditioned by society, that by parents, by friends, by professors, by everyone, that this is what you have to do in order to be happy. Do these things. And all of these things were instructions outside of myself. And then when I had my rock bottom moment, when I had my nervous breakdown, I began a new way of life by doing things for me. When you do things for yourself, people know it's real. When you decide to do a favor for someone, when you decide to put your effort into something, when you decide to really hone in and work on something, people are going to know it's real because you stand in your integrity and you do what's right for you. When you decide that you're not going to live for the opinions of other people, when you decide that you're not going to live out of guilt, you're not going to live out of obligation, you're going to live out of inspiration, you're going to live out of your soul's true calling, you're going to live out of your soul's true purpose, you're going to live out of your own truth and integrity, that's when you know life is real for you. And life was meant to be a buffet for us to pick and choose what we wanted to do with it. Now, the catch is we don't get to dictate or control the results of our actions. For every action, there is a reaction. And the reaction, we have to trust that when we follow our truth, that reaction was meant to be. And sometimes in these reactions, people label them as quote-unquote bad. So let's say you decide to live for you and you leave that office job. And then you've lost like a 401k and all this money, and society views it as bad. But they may not see on a higher level how beneficial doing that for your soul is. People may see you walking in your truth and doing things that are completely out of character, but they don't see the higher workings of how it's benefiting your life and your soul. And And I just wanted to ask, who are you living for? I feel like there are certain things that we should do. We should walk in our truth, stand in our self-awareness, be impeccable with our word. That's another thing. Like, if I'm doing something out of duty, it's because I said I would. And I find integrity in keeping up with my word. And if I can't keep up with my word, then I take responsibility for that. You want to keep up with your own truth and your own integrity and your own soul evolution as consciously as you can. Are we all perfect? There are times when I slip up and I'm like, did I really want that? Or was I really connected? As long as you're doing the best that you can, as long as you can be as aware as you possibly can in every moment and walking your truth in every moment based on your best ability, then you're living your life. There's always something you can look back in retrospect and say, I could have done better here or there. But that's not the point of life is the journey, not the destination. So pretty much, when you do something, when you say something, who are you doing it for? We have been taught and programmed and just conditioned that we have to do things that we don't want to do. That is a limited belief. People think that they have to do things that they don't want to do in order to ... in order to survive, in order to be happy, in order to be stable, in order to manifest what you want in life. That's not necessarily true. And the only way for you to know that is to take a leap of faith. We have been taught a certain way to live. We've been taught a certain way to operate, and it is fear that keeps us from choosing the road less taken. It is fear of judgment. It is fear of our reputation. It is fear of the unknown. It is fear of negative outcomes, which could be, these negative outcomes could be karmic lessons that are necessary for your soul, checkpoints and experiences that you set up in your blueprint before you got here that you needed for your ultimate purpose. Now, there have been some things on my road that resulted in what society would deem as heavy consequences. But if you look at some of the greatest leaders, some of the most influential people and their road and what they stood for. Now, okay, let's take a look at Rosa Parks. In that time, obviously, to sit where she sat, being the color skin that she is, it was something you just did not do. You did not do it. And what she did called for heavy consequences. She was arrested. And, she wasn't trying to be some revolutionary. She wasn't trying to, force her way and making a point. She was just following her heart. And in following her heart, it became a revolutionary action in that time. So I'm not glorifying people who force themselves to do these champion things, because that's living for another person. That's serving another master. That's doing stuff so people can see you as someone who is weathering the storm and puffed up. And I heard stories about, people who force themselves to do things like force themselves to be homeless to prove a point, even though in their heart, that's not what they really want to do. They're not put in a position where they have to choose between doing something that really depletes them or going off on their own and experiencing homelessness. versus, someone who's pushed to that point in escaping abuse. So I'm not advocating doing things to force yourself to become a martyr. There's there's the fool card. There's going off on the ledge because of straight stupidity, and then there's going off on the ledge because you're following your heart. You don't know what's on the other end, or you see that, there's some negative consequences on the other end, but you know that your truth and your integrity and how you feel is what you need to put first. There's a difference. Because in the other one, you're still proving your worth. Whereas Rosa Parks was not proving her worth. She was embodying her worth by honoring how she feels. And I bet you so many people in that community who followed the rules and did what they were told may have not agreed with what she did. They may have been livid because they're conditioned to follow the rules that go against their soul. When at the end of the day, we are free spirits, we are free human beings, and we can sit wherever we want to sit. So, I just want to say, who are you living for? Sometimes when you live for yourself, it takes great bravery. Sometimes when you live for yourself, you're pulling the fool card, but in the positive light. So, I just want to say that when you're working with someone who lives for themselves, when they do for you, you know it's real. When they speak to you, when they tell you something, you know it's real. Now, I'm not saying these people are perfect. I'm not saying these people are gurus and, Buddha floating on a lily pad. I'm just saying that when you see someone walking their talk and walking their truth, and they extend love, and when they do a favor for you, you know it's because they wanted to from their heart. Not because they're supposed to, not because of a promise, not because of how it looks, not because of a self-sacrifice, but because they want to in their heart. Now, how much better are you going to feel receiving that kind of love? So anyway, just want to talk about who you're living for. And in this world where everyone's comparing, likes on Facebook or likes on Instagram or, status and all this other stuff. It's like people don't even care if people are absorbing their information. All they care about is a number. You got all these numbers, but nobody even knows what you stand for. That's why I say quality over quantity. You know all this information, but you don't really know the information. You can flip all these tricks, but your heart is not really concrete in anything. Who are you living for? And I know Jesus was talking about following the Christ within. Have I not told you ye are gods? And in following that, in honoring our heart, in honoring our path, in honoring the God within, we enter a world of heaven on earth. All right? Bye-bye.